We got the Titans going up against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football and probably one of the better games of Week 9. Who do you think is going to come out on top and why?
I think this game is going to be the game of the week. I think that this game is going to surprise a lot of people because at the end of the day, we all know that the Titans are probably sitting at a record in which not many people thought they would because you lose AJ Brown in the offseason, a couple of injuries to start the year in terms of some of the defensive players. They started off rough, especially getting blown out by Buffalo in week 2. It was just kind of like it wasn't looking very well. Now, I'm looking at the predictions in terms of what ESPN has their predictions as to who's going to win, and it's like 88% Kansas City. But this is also the same percentage bracket that Kyle said that they picked the ESPN picked the Celtics to win the finals. And what was it, Kyle? 80 what percent?
It was like 86% that the Celtics would win over the Warriors in the NBA Finals, and that pretty much went up in flames.
Yeah, so I take this with a grain of salt. The only reason I say that this is up in the air is because Ryan Tannehill didn't play last week. Malik Willis did. And I'm trying to find the injury report for the Titans because I'm sitting here and I had to refresh my screen because pop-up ads, I got to renew my firewall, whatever. So I'm looking at it and it says Ryan Tannehill is questionable, didn't practice on Thursday. So I don't know if that means as of this moment that he is going to potentially play. I don't know if they're holding him out because they want to save him for Sunday to be fresh. But that immediately changes the prediction, or not changes, but it intensifies my prediction. I'm going KC no matter what. I think KC has their number. I think KC has a better overall team. Obviously, the better quarterback. The only thing that Tennessee really does have better is Derrick Henry. Just had 200 yards, but against one of the worst teams in football. I think KC finds a way to get ahead quickly. I think they torch the secondary of the Titans. Patrick Mahomes goes for 3 or 4 touchdowns. I think this is going to be one of those statement games where Pat says, I'm him. We're talking about Josh Allen. We're talking about Jalen Hurts and all these other people. This is mine. And we're talking about week 9. If this were to happen, they would move 2 games ahead of the Chargers in terms of the division. And I think that Patrick Mahomes absolutely says, I am going to win the MVP. I am going back to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs have a statement win. They've been playing very, very well as of late, aside from the Buffalo loss, which was just very, very minute, by the way. And I think that they take advantage and they capitalize. And if Ryan Tannehill plays, I think they have a better chance. But if he does play, it's probably going to be limited. So if Malik Willis plays with that inexperience, this could easily turn into a 3 possession blowout because Malik Willis didn't really show much for me last week. That was all Derrick Henry. He had like 30 touches and he went off for 200 yards, like I had already stated. Malik has promise. I mean, he has potential. He has the mobility. He has the arm strength. It's just he is not experienced enough for me to have faith to go up against a juggernaut like Kansas City, a potential Super Bowl favorite or a Super Bowl participant upcoming in February. So I got the Chiefs. I don't think it's close. If Tannehill plays, it's a little bit closer, but not too much. They just have to find a way to at least limit Henry, and by limit I mean keep him under 200, which is a tall task in and of itself. But I think the Chiefs have the requisite pieces to do it. I think Kansas City dominates on Sunday night, and it's not going to be close.
Yeah, I think this game is going to go one or two ways, but I do believe that it is going to go in Casey's favor. To me, it just depends on how much Casey's going to win by. And it's dependent on Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry pops off, it has one of his, Derrick Henry vintage type games. Basically, just think of what he did to the Texans last week. If he has a game like that, then I think the Chiefs only win this one by like 1 possession. However, if the Chiefs are able to slow down Derrick Henry and contain him like the Bills did on that famous Monday night game a couple months ago, then I think the Chiefs win this one by 3 possessions. I think they could win by 21, 24 points when it's all said and done. But I think that's really what it comes down to. I got the Chiefs winning this one, but it's whether or not that Derrick Henry is going to pop off. And when I look at Tennessee this year specifically, it's been very hit or miss with Derrick. Just because when they went up against the Bills, they got annihilated by Buffalo. And the reason why Buffalo was so successful was they just contained Derrick Henry. They didn't give him any chance to break out of tackles. And when you look at what the Bills offense did, they just lit it up and got to a point where the Titans had no other choice but to pass the ball and keep it out of Derrick Henry's hands. When it comes to the Chiefs this weekend, the Chiefs have to do the same thing of what Buffalo did to Tennessee on that Monday night game a couple months back. And there's a very good chance that that could happen. Because when I look at the Titans defense, they've only been tested a few times this year. The Bills were definitely a test earlier in the season, and they outright failed. And they really haven't had what I would consider some really tough offenses to go up against. Maybe you could say Going up against the Raiders was a challenge simply just because the Raiders have a pretty solid offense to work with. But this is a night and day difference going up against KC's offense. And when you look at KC's offense, I mean, they're running and gunning. They put up 44, 45 points against the 49ers before their bye week. These guys are fresh. They're coming into a primetime game on Sunday night. There's a very good chance that if Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs offense finds their rhythm early, the Chiefs could put up 40 points in this game. And I don't think there's anything that Tennessee could do defensively to be able to slow them down. It almost kind of seems like when the Chiefs get on a roll, it's almost as if like you're going through an avalanche defensively. It's just like it's one after another, and it's a snowball effect. You know, if KC gets off to a hot start, they'll get a touchdown after a touchdown after a touchdown, just one after another. So Tennessee's going to have to make this kind of a gutter type game. They're going to have to really emphasize running the football effectively with Derrick Henry to kind of make this game competitive. But I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think KC's defense is going to be able to slow down Derrick Henry enough where Tennessee may get some early field goals if they get into position. But, you know, you're talking about field goals. You have to score touchdowns against KC to be able to at least stay in the game. And I think that KC's offense is just going to run and gun. I think that Patrick Mahomes can put up 350 yards passing in this one. I see a minimum of at least 2 touchdowns, more than likely probably 3. And I love the fact that KC is finally starting to get Juju Smith-Schuster more incorporated into the offense. He's had some relatively solid games the last 2 appearances. The first half of the year, he was very hit or miss. And I think going into this game, I think that wouldn't be a surprise to me if Patrick Mahomes and Juju really kind of connect for somewhere around, I'd say maybe 6 to 8 targets. And I wouldn't be surprised if Juju gets about like 5 or 6 catches. Maybe he could get 100 yards receiving, maybe a touchdown. But not only that, you know, they got a pretty solid run game to go on top of that. I think it's just going to be too much for Tennessee to handle defensively. So if I had to say, I think more than likely, I think that Casey's going to run away with this game. I think just to be fair, I said if Derrick Henry has a solid game, it would be a one possession game. I do believe that Derrick Henry is going to be effective early on, but I think in the second half, Tennessee's going to have to throw the ball a lot more. That means that Derrick Henry's not going to touch the rock as much, and I think Casey's just really going to run away with it in the second half. So I'm going to say that Casey's going to win this one by 3 possessions. I think it'll be a 17-point margin when it's all said and done in favor of the Chiefs. If I had to throw a score on it, I'm going to say they win this one like 37-20. I really see Patrick Mahomes just lighting up that Titans defense and really improving his MVP campaign for this season because he's definitely one of the contenders for MVP about 9 weeks into the season.